Hello, sorry everyone. This is Sidutru Part 5 continued. Sorry about that, everyone. Oh, let me sit at an angle and see if I can figure out where I am. Yeah, okay, that's much better. Alright. One of the most common questions is, how do you become an actual legitimate warlock and witch and not be part of all this occult-rooted nonsense with Wicca, neo-paganism, whatever? First fact to realize is that if it uses any of those terms, it's bullshit, so you need to just not look in that direction. You need to look at the actual cultures where the titles came from, and that's when you start finding it in the Norse and the Swedish, which then is into the Scottish, which is then into the Saxons and the Jutes and everything else, and goes over into the Germanic and finally down into the English, which were more or less commentators on the factor and didn't really know much about it even then. And that's actually the reality. But it was the same ones who didn't know much about it that wrote in their own fantasy crap, like fantasy football. Only more perverse and more or less the feverish writings of somebody who really needed to just get fucking laid. Anybody that uses terms like all those Christians, don't trust that material. Anyone that says women were the most respected above men and were considered more powerful than men, bunk. Bunk. Because the reality is, it was not anything based on gender in that regards. And it sure as hell had nothing to do with what was between your fucking legs. It had everything to do with what's between your ears up in here. And what was coming out of here. And your actions that follow through with that. So to be a legitimate warlock or witch, you make your highest ethical standard personally. Don't expect it from everyone else. You damn well expect it from yourself and back it up. And that is, make it your custom to be truthful. That's the real reason why I chose Sidutru as the title. Because of that meaning, customary truth. It is literally the highest ethical standard you can have. Make it your custom to be impersonally truthful, see what things are, both in their most horrific, nasty, gory, dirty, rotten truth, as well as the more pleasant aspects. And it's okay to focus on the pleasant parts, but you cannot lie about the nasty parts. The truth of the matter is, warlocks and witches were the main clergy for the so-called Celts, which is a fucking Latin term anyway, and they didn't call themselves Celts, which falls within the Scottish, the Irish, and all that, which are tied to the fucking Norse and the Swedish and the Saxons and everything else. So there you go. If it's largely Christian written, throw it out. If it's non-Christian with some Christian overtones, just take out the Christian overtones. Simple. The other thing is, actually learn how Old English words were pronounced. For example, the idiots that come out and call themselves Wiccans are spelling it with two C's that would have been spelled witcha, and that was a plural for witches. And it's a feminine word. And the same thing applied. It was pronounced pretty much the same way if it had an E at the end, with A and E simply being transferred to S, the ES added later for more modern language. But that's just how it evolved. Case in point, if you look at the Old English literature on the subject matter, they make a reference saying things. They called their priests warlocks and the women of the ark witches. Now, it's funny because it's literally written as warlock. And that in itself pretty much just reinforces what I told you in my earlier videos about what the words actually mean. And witch is silly how easy it's to find. Witch, watch, they can switch letters around, it still says witch or watch. Represents the same source, and it's originally a feminine word. Period. I apologize for being really tired. I'm trying to make sure I get enough reasonable stuff in here as possible. The cultures were polytheistic, not monotheistic. They did not believe in one ultimate all that every other being was a little bitty aspect of. They basically took the concept of Wahas, removed an actual identity from it, took all of the ancestral beings in terms of war spirits, and replaced that with the concepts of deities, and then tried to fit that in and insert that over with the Freemasonic, Kabbalistic-based structure and theory of the masculine right solar thing and the feminine left lunar thing, and then you had your androgynous whatever in the middle as the central pillar, and then of course the little Kabbalistic tree of life and all that. So it's all bullshit. And they pretty much rip whatever name they can from a culture completely out of context of the culture, trying to force fit stuff that it doesn't belong in and never did, and it's not compatible. And that's pretty much what eclectic means is, well, for them it means take whatever strikes you fancy, force fit it where it doesn't belong, and water it down enough so that it makes it seem right. And then we're going to make a bunch of sculptures of this bullshit and sell it to a bunch of tourists and target teens because, you know, they're going to be your future market. That's not spirituality, that's money. That's power-hungry people driven by three simple things. Make money, push your own agenda, disregard the cultural context of everything. And the one that circles all of that to complete the system, make it whatever you want. But I got a quick little list of lies here that they usually teach you. And these are the things to watch out for. When they open up their discussion on the subject, this video is mainly targeted for teenagers drawn to the magical path. Automatic clue, the rest is going to be bullshit. And for those adults who are looking for a magical lifestyle. Bullshit because they're all meaning women's lifestyle. To dispel the myths about anything to do with Buffy, Charmed, and Harry Potter. That's about the only thing that they say that's truthful. That it's not to do with any of that. It's such a vast subject, it's impossible to cover in detail. Not if you are actually paying attention to the culture in which the terms came from and stop trying to mix in some Hinduism, Buddhism, Santeria, and Catholicism rolled into Freemasonic level initiatory type bullshit and then not even use the words right. And then a bad translation of everything in Old English to modern English, for that matter. Another one. Practice today as mainly a modern practice is what real witchcraft is. If they were telling the truth, they wouldn't be calling it witchcraft. That's a misnomer from the beginning. Like I was saying, it's just it's when they were using the term seated witch interchangeably because it was considered that it was mostly women in the medieval times. After all, the priesthood was basically assassinated or pushed into hiding, more or less, and therefore forced to give up the titles that anybody calling themselves a warlock was considered rare at best. And since women were considered fragile-minded, telling their little wives they were whatever, and ultimately harmless originally, that's the only reason why they were the ones that basically took over trying to preserve some of it. But if they knew about warlocks, all the fucking witches were there to back up their priest. Okay? This modern shit of warlocks supposedly being a traitor for the coven thing, nobody fucking had things called covens. It's modern bullshit. While it's diverse, each have a common belief system. No! That's false. That is completely false. All these neo-whatever have a common belief system because it's all drawn out of the same New Age occult mystic bullshit, completely distinct and irrelevant of the cultural context, tradition, spirituality, and foundations. That's right up there with pretty much saying that all Native American tribes believe the same exact fucking thing, and that it's okay to be eclectic and mush it all together, and then take it from Native cultures, and then make it your own, how you decide to see fit. No, that's not being true to any culture, and it's highly disrespectful. More or less, they very much take from many and claim it's all theirs. That's a good clue right there that they're fucking blowing a whole lot of smoke up your ass, and if you're not a smoker, get ready to choke on it. They try to claim that their information is informative and natural, but in reality most of it's vague and unnatural, as well as unhistorical. So, yeah. Then they will go on into this whole long line of paraphernalia. Paraphernalia? What are we dealing with? Fucking the drug task force? Come on. Paraphernalia. Why don't you just fucking say what it is? A fucking prop. That's all it is. You're a fucking cosplayer. Then they say, the true founders of true witchcraft today is Gail Gardner and Alexandros. And to be a truly harmonious eclectic, you have to embrace a little bit of both. Even though the motherfuckers that had dealt with these two guys pretty much said that they were a bunch of fucking scam artists that would actually brag about it in private, while one was trying to claim to be the sole source of all of it. The other one was actually openly joking about how he's mind-fucking people, that would be Alexander's, and that there were so many gullible dumbasses. And that's Miss Farrar, who was literally in that system, and point blank came out and said that much, but these fuckers now today just do not want to accept it because of all the bullshit targeted teenage girls giving them bad information, a whole lot of fucking Disneyland-type fantasies that couldn't grow up and get past the Tea Party thing. So, to be a real warlock or witch, you're going to want to look at the culture. You're going to forget about all the so-called Disneyland-type things and think that you're going to eventually someday learn how to, and it's going to happen. It just it doesn't work that way. And if anybody uses the term magic to describe it or asks you, how do you empower your magic? Walk the fuck away. Hell, I had somebody demand me not that long ago to give them the real stuff because they know I'm actually knowledgeable. So give me the secret book. Give me that real book of shadows. I will pay you whatever you want for it. Just give me that book. And I finally got tired of even trying to get through that person that no warlock or witch ever had a book of shadows. It was a modern invention. It was all spoken of, known, and the whole fucking culture understood the concepts that warlocks and witches were talking. It wasn't just warlocks and witches talking out their fucking ass. Thank you very much.